Wicked Willie. You caught me a little off guard here in the studio. Hey, you want to see the spaceship of all studios come to life?
I want to see DJ Dave Cooper. Look at that, folks.
Look at
The
this
power
stuff.
of levitation.
How cool. So, yes, the studio is coming along. We're having a lot of fun with it. It's come a long way since we started. I got all my cameras shaking. Did you see that? But I can play with it however I want.
So that's camera angle number 1. Dave, let's look at camera angle 2.
Camera angle 2 is right here.
What about camera angle 3?
That's right over there.
And guess what, folks? It can't be shown
coming
during the day, but there's actually camera angle 4, but that's only for night shows.
Yeah, it is. You know what? I was looking at this camera angle, man. It reminded me, look, that's Memorial Day. That's my brother and I standing in that picture in the military. And that's my grandfather, who was a World War II vet, looking down on us from heaven. That was painted for a wedding gift by a buddy of mine. Pretty cool, right?
I remember when I first saw it. I mean, it's great. So that's Brian and Dave Cooper, or is that a different brother?
Yeah. So my brother, as we call, is the bullet catcher in the Marine uniform, and
Okay.
I was an Army combat medic, so I'm standing next to him, and then that's the desert because that's where we pounded sand for a lot of years, and then the grandfather looking down on us. So it's a really cool, paint. It's an oil painting too.
It's awesome. Now every year, do you trade, and does it go to his house or does it stay with you?
No, as a matter of fact, when he got married, I went and asked my friend and our friend, I should say, and he ended up making one for him as well, which was really great. And you remember, what's her name? She was the opera singer on America's Got Talent. The young little girl really became super, super famous.
Yeah. I don't remember her name, but I know her voice. Right.
Yep. So that's his brother's daughter.
Oh, wow.
Small world, right? She's from Pittsburgh here. So, yeah, super cool.
I'm wondering if we put the two paintings side by side, if you're painting, you're an inch taller, and in Brian's painting, he's an inch taller. I wonder if there's like this brotherly kind of check this out thing. Like there's a lot of competition between the two of you.
There, you know what there is, and I'll tell you what's funny about moving home, and then we'll get into the show here. We're gonna cover a lot today, but people get confused because I look a lot like my brother in person. So when I walk into Salvage Pittsburgh, every once in a while they have to take a double take because they're like, "Well, Brian left for vacation. Why are you here?" In other words, they think I'm Brian right at the bat, and then they're like, "Oh, it's Dave." But
also. We've never all been on phone or online together, but obviously I've spoke to your brother on the phone, and his voice and inflection and that kind of like the kind of laugh that you have at the end after, something hits home, you both have that. And for folks not believing us, Salvage PGH is on Instagram, and he's really got a really cool setup, and he takes you to projects, and you'll see him crawling through buildings that have collapsed. And he's like, look at this. Like the other day, he got a truckload of these boxes, and, I passed it on to our friend Ben. I'm like, Ben, go get these. Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what he does. It's like architectural salvage, and now he takes here's his website. I might as well put it up there. He is my brother, so I should put it up a little bit. But like I said, they're pickers is what they do, and they do all kinds of architectural salvage, decor, funky finds, imports, and it's just like watching the TV show. And he gets a lot of really cool stuff into the warehouse, and that's why you called Ben to tell Ben to look at some of that stuff. But he had all the barnwood. So if you need barnwood, he has, tens of thousands of lineal feet of old barnwood because he was taking them down all across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. And if you need a custom made table, Live Edge. That's
next time I'm in Pittsburgh, PJ, so a little foreshadowing with a PH for everyone. I'm gonna take one of those old wooden ladders that he's got.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand on top of it. Right, OSHA friendly on top, and I'm going to stand in front of the G, and Dave is going to go live. So I have the P and the H on both sides of me. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Pittsburgh, baby. Well, listen, Mark, it is Memorial Day weekend. We started off the show, kind of being a little selfish, talking about us a little bit, but, it's the summer kickoff. But more importantly, to me, I think we should take a moment of silence to honor the soldiers, sailors, airmen, airwomen, and Marines. I was just kidding about the bullet catching thing, guys. Don't take it too serious. And for all of those that did not make it home, that gave the ultimate sacrifice. They truly gave all. So why don't we take a minute and just say a little prayer for them, or just a moment of silence? All right. Now, Mark, my moment of silence was short for a reason. You want to know why?
Because I'm emotional, and so are you.
You know what? I got buddies of mine that didn't make it home, and buddies of mine that have committed suicide since all of this. And the last thing they want us to do is spending too much time worrying about them. So that as they say, as soldiers, we have a dark sense of humor. You know what I mean? We have a dark sense of humor. Like for me, my buddies that are missing limbs, like, just because you're missing a limb doesn't mean I ain't going to lay into you, man. Shouldn't have stepped on it. But we had fun with it.
You also, for folks that don't know, right? You spent your years as a combat medic.
That's
and
right.
You're immediately responsive, right? Before you even have a chance to think, and you're in people's heads, and you're in the heads of the people around you, because there's no time for what now or what if, right?
Right. That's right.
There's no time to stop, drop, and roll. It's all action. So to the folks out there that are responsive, you're incredible.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Let's talk about all the other great folks in the world, though, too, because you know what? We got a lot of veterans that are on this show quite often. Stephen Basic be one of them. He was a Marine. He's a big Marine, so hopefully he didn't hear the first part about the bullet catching stuff, because he could crush me pretty easily, I think. But I was just kidding on that. So we do. There's a lot of veterans in the construction industry, a lot. So this is a great way to kick off the weekend, to highlight like a Stephen Basic and some others on the show, but also to take a look back over the years of some really great shows that we had on.
Perfect.
So why don't we kick it off and go with that? Let's talk about building systems, Mark, and building science. Do we want to tell the story on how this happened?
I like where you're going with that, because if you take several years ago, Dave, that's a foreign language.
Yes.
And then when you introduce it, right, it's a little heavy because it's new, and it's not easy to catch on with. And so when someone encounters something new, right, one of the first responses is to say, we dismiss that. That's not how we've done it. That's not familiar to us.
Yeah.
So we knew this in the beginning, that this foreign language was not going to be popular. However, it was necessary.
It was necessary. So let's have the story on this, right? So right before COVID hit, we started the Dave Cooper live show. We were, and Jennifer and I were doing all of our stuff. We had our Monday and Wednesday show. And no, we had Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I think it was, because did we have Miles yet?
So
I can't remember.
For something tells me, I might be wrong. That could be, but I thought you guys did Wednesday first, and then you did Monday, because you were always planning Tuesday.
Right.
And Tuesday was a whole other level. One of your best shows, clearly, and that was with you and Jennifer. And then Miles came in very quickly on Thursday.
That's right.
And it was in that process that we were on the phone. So the folks that don't know, we certainly hadn't met. We came from different worlds, but we had met on LinkedIn.
That's right.
And we, we had some nice phone calls. And what do you think, Dave? It took 5 weeks before we before we launched on Friday.
We did. We were doing there were some things going on, and what really started putting our relationship together. You're in Chicago, and I'm saying, hey, listen, I'm trying to figure out how we get the unions involved in building systems. He said, well, I know a lot of these unions. Remember this conversation?
Oh, yeah.
And that's really where the back and forth started. And then we got to know each other, and, we started talking about building systems and building science. And I'll never forget, you said, let's do the show Friday. And I'm like, I'm already live like 3 or 4 days a week. I'm like, I couldn't fathom another show. Well, lo and behold, we finally said, hey, let's do it. And I said, Mark, you know what? You bring in the guests. We'll put the show together, and it worked out. And that's how our show began. And it has run for 3 years now. So, and we're going to go over some of these guests, but that's kind of the backstory. And I think the important thing was we saw long ago that these two things really go hand in hand. And it's kind of fun because right now we're going to highlight some of these people today. We're starting to see these systems come together on our show.
And we reaffirmed this. So we've been together twice in person. Once was somewhere in Texas with our good friend Andrew Seeley of G-Pod on a Saturday morning when Dave was doing Coffee with Dave, yet another show. And then shouldn't step on it. And then at the IBS show where we heard all the conversation this year of truly building systems and building science, as Dave said, that are now mainstream topics. And so our favorite shows are all of them. So none of you are not our favorites, right? It's just like a parent or teacher. But we're going to highlight some of them because we look back on YouTube and there's good memories there. And many of these folks commenting on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Twitch, the YouTube, and LinkedIn, they've been a part of those shows, including Andrew, including Greg Ugaldi, NAHB.
Yeah, they definitely have been. So let's highlight a couple of them. Let's just run through the conversation, and then we can always go back and pull some up if we want. But, building science and building systems, one of the first ones we had on the show was Deltec Homes. Remember Deltec Homes out of the Carolinas?
I think it was a very special show. We had the potential for one of the clients to come in, but the client had it's a live show, and the client had internet problems of their own.
They did.
But in fact, after the show in the green room was when I think the internet cleared up, and we had this great behind the scenes story that no one got to see. Our green room before and after the show should be its all other show because that's been so fun. But Deltec really delivered. They have a unique shape. They have a great business model, and sustainability was a huge focus of what they brought in right from their offsite world. Look at this.
Yeah, they did. So, for everybody out there listening, everything we're going to talk about is under the playlist Building Science, right? And this is a new thumbnail that we had up from our show the other day. So I think what happens is the thumbnail of the last show pops up here. This is the one that we had from last Friday. So, but anyhow, there you can see Deltec Homes right at the top there. So people can tune in and they can take a look at it. And I'm going to keep this up too, because, Leah and Deltec and everything they were doing, Mark, they've been really pioneers in this space long before we started talking about it.
Oh yeah. They're a wicked storm. I believe the client that they were showcasing, I'm pulling from my memory here, is they had a Deltec place on their site, and then they did an addition years later of more Deltec. Isn't that how it went? They
did do an addition. Their homes are made to grow, and that's kind of what's really cool about it. And we actually got a tour. I believe in that video there was a tour. We had a homeowner that was there walking us around, which was really, really cool.
Yeah, that was the part I think the internet was fading out. I mean, this is 3+ years ago. You guys, how much more do you expect me to remember?
You said you could remember every episode that you never forget. So we're gonna try some of this today. Hey, let's.
Can you put that thumbnail back up of you in the red flannel? I just want our folks in the Great White
Yeah.
North to see Dave wearing the Canadian tuxedo.
Whoop. Let me go to a different view here and make it better for us.
That's Dave wearing the Canadian tuxedo. So shout out to our Canadian tuxedo friends.
Oh, what's going on? Here it is.
And that's a nice True Work flannel, by the way.
Yeah, True Work, man. That was nice of them. They sent me some stuff, and I have to tell you, I like the True Work stuff. It's very comfortable, man. And they have a whole women's line of clothing out there. So look, Amy Marks is in there. Hey, Amy, if you don't know True Work, you should check out their women's line of clothing for factory workers and all that. If you want an intro, I will give it to you. Their stuff's actually there's not very many companies that actually have a female, woman's, however we want to call it, line out there.
I tell you, I went to their facility in Colorado when I was out there, and their R&D folks and development folks had racks of stuff, and we got to put it on and simulate tile work and simulate other things, and they were taking notes on everything we were saying. I was with Gina and Aaron Jones.
Sure.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, very, very cool. You see, you're on here too, man.
Oh, yeah, I'm just not wearing my Canadian tuxedo.
I know.
I think I'm bare naked in that photo.
Well, that's why you're from the neck down, right? So, Mark, one of the other shows that we had, and let's pop through these so people can really so we can get through all this and not waste people's time either. Bensonwood, Jay Lepley. Remember that show?
Classic, because while we were live, they were live in their factory, right? They set up the camera in the factory.
Right here.
Awesome show.
Episode 13.
Is that right? That was 13.
Yeah, that's what that thumbnail says. We've come a long way, I think, on our thumbnails too. We're working on it, but hey, when you're pioneering things. So yeah, Bensonwood out of New England, they do amazing things. And if you want to see more, I did some work with Jay on site. We did some live shows on site at one point, as well as a product spotlight. So if you were on our channel, you just have to search up Bensonwood, and I'm sure all those videos would pop up as well.
And some people would know them in the marketplace as Unity, right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah. That you'll find that a lot. The modular and offsite world, sometimes there's multiple names depending on the region or the demographic or the type of structures they're producing.
Right.
So it's done for a reason, folks. I'll let each company give their specific reason, but know that a lot of times you'll find outfits that have 3 or 4 different names.
Yeah, for sure. All right. One of my favorite shows, just because he's one of my favorite people. I've known him for a long time. Harris Woodward, Finish Works. He was doing modular, high energy efficiency buildings long before we started our show.
And he simplified it, right? He was talking about the effective values. He was so giddy. And several months ago, Dave, I think it happened at least once, maybe twice. Of course, you were at a live event, meaning a live in-person event, and Harris was there and joined us.
He was there and joined us.
Yeah.
And Harris, if you don't know Harris, he's super smart when it comes to this stuff. He talks at all the trade shows on it, especially when it comes to offsite construction. And he's also a builder. So he's just not talking the talk. He's walking the walk on a regular basis. Here's his website if you want to learn more about Harris. Look, he has some videos there. So definitely want to check him out. But he's been talking about net zero homes for a long time and building them for a long time using offsite construction.
And to clarify, as we're going through the names, if you haven't met Dave and you haven't met myself and you haven't met these folks, this is not a commercial. Each guest is handpicked because we see value in what they do, and we're not exploiting their relationship. We are sharing their craft.
That's right.
So this is handpicked every time. Right. This is what, episode 159 in a row, all handpicked.
Yep. All handpicked, 3 years, every Friday, never missed a Friday. All right. Well, this next guest, you know very well, very intimately. Sometimes you lose your voice when you visit. They're also doing amazing prefab work. Edie Dillman and Jonas at B Public Prefab.
So the first time they were on the show, I was outside of a different factory, and that storm came in, and I was on the show like for 30 seconds here and 30 seconds there. Dave carried the whole show, and then most recently, when they were back on, yes, my voice was gone again. For folks that don't know, I'm allergic to dust, so wood dust, which is great that I'm a carpenter. Cellulose is horrible for me. So Dave is sitting there. My mouth is moving and you can't hear me. So this is great. Good friends of all of ours. We all spent time together at IBS. Dave and I built their booth for the high performance thing. And Jonah and Edie, really special people. Las Vegas, New Mexico. Las Vegas,
New Mexico. So if you don't know them, you should check them out. Their website is on there and you can see what they have going on. All right, Mark. So we have some more. So we're going to pick up the pace here. Holtzrum Systems. You remember Holtzrum Systems? Am I saying it right?
Yes. So they're based out of Philly. It's David, and it's Ilka, and it's Steve, and they have the single integrated manufacturing model. So that's known as SIM, right? It's an acronym. And they've worked with folks like Blueprint Robotics for the house that you're seeing there. It's a wonderful, robust, resilient home that is done to the Passive House standard. It's won Passive House awards. And every single component is in their catch system. And what it does is it's an integration from the parts and pieces to the different component and system companies that come together, as well as all the assembly and clash detection for your mechanical, your electrical, your ventilation, your plumbing. That's why you see all those things flickering on there. Each one could be pulled out to make sure there's no thermal bridging, to make sure that there's air control layers, there's vapor control layers, the structural's in place. And this includes the finishes. It's all done in a factory. It's all put together on site. So it's like BIM, but it's integrating at a different level. They've developed SIM just for themselves, and I believe we've had them on a total of 3 times, Dave.
Yeah, we have had them on, I think 3 times, and every time their system got better and better and better. So what's fun about that, if you really want to see the progression on how they get the system up and running and working, we kind of discussed it all 3 times and where they were and where they are now. It's quite impressive.
Steve's background is timber framing and different wood systems. And of course, he's also a Passive House consultant, as is Ilka, and their training, along with Steve's brother, who does all that electronic systems back end, is really fascinating. So check out Holstrom, check out SIM. They are the glue, the web that puts all that together. And when you're going through that, when each trade is actually going through the system, guess what, Dave?
What's that?
You don't need any special software. Your notes and your comments and review get plugged right in, and you don't need that special software. They integrate that so that you don't have to have that to do it. Because obviously, if you and I are at the factory side, we might have the CAD works and the different things that they have in the different CNC, but perhaps the contractor and the mechanical or the plumbing or the site people, they're not familiar with that, but they can still view it, comment, circle, and add notes. SIM. Ready for more, Dave. What else we got?
Dude, so we got so much, man. Here's the great thing about today's show, Mark. We're gonna fly through a bunch more of these, and then everybody's gonna go, holy cow, that's all under the playlist on BS Friday. It's gonna be a world of knowledge. Let's keep it going. Cheryl Stepko. Right? Let's talk about Cheryl Seco, high performance and good design, amazing architects that we have hosted. Cheryl Seco was one of our very first guests.
She was our very first guest. And so in the beginning, we've always had a blend of professional females, professional males of varying backgrounds.
Right.
Cheryl and I long ago were in a competition of putting on Sega membranes and tapes against a whole cast of other professionals. And Cheryl and I were partners, and we won. She has many courses, many programs, from mold to architecture to wood. She's an authority on wood in our architectural projects. Great gal and amazing professional. We're thrilled that she was one of our very first.
Yeah, very, very thrilled. And if you want to learn about how homes make you sick, that's the show you want to watch. That is the show that got her into what she does, avoiding mold, because it was making her and her kids sick. We learned so much on this show. And the biggest thing I learned is everybody that has been on this show and has done something amazing like Cheryl, it's because something happened to them that changed the course of their life or their direction. And mold was a big problem for her and her kids.
100% firsthand accounts of what's going on in our lives with our friends and our families and with our own selves have transformed people to be leaders in our professional community.
That's right. That's right. All right. Next, we have up Alexandra Basic and Stephen Basic. We're all both on the show. I think I got the right site here. So here you go. Check out what they do. And they believe in building systems and building science.
She was really fresh out of school, a very astute architect. She obviously has been involved in her craft for a very long time while she was a youth. Her father, Stephen, was with Building Science Corp. And so she walked the halls of Building Science Corporation as a toddler,
right?
And turn on to make it her craft. So we had her on with Stephen, the final show of our first year or the very first show of that calendar year, somewhere the end of December, beginning of January. Actually, I believe it was New Year's Day. There you go. New camera angle from Dave. So Alexandra Basic, Stephen Basic Architect. Yeah. She's on LinkedIn. She's on YouTube. She's on IG.
Absolutely. So let's not forget our good friend, Doug Farr.
Wow. I think we've had 3 or 4 episodes with Doug. What was unique about that show is Dave and I didn't talk.
Nope. Don't have to talk with him. It's like 150 slides, and man, he just owns it.
And it was one of those circumstances where we surprised him with introductions. So something that we take a lot of pride with is welcoming our presenters and allowing you to meet them and people in their lives. It's not just about their professional accolades and projects and products and whatnot. It's also the person behind it. And so we've had good industry friends of Doug. We've had his wife on, and he said, "Oh my gosh." And there was a real, "Oh my gosh."
It was
scripted there. Truly, when LEED came about, Doug was on the onset, and they said, "Let's work on a house and let's work on a building." And Doug said, "Well, that's great. That's a wonderful chapter that we need to embark on. However, let's do developments." So Doug ushered in LEED for neighborhood developments, and all of his projects are sustainability based, and they could incorporate various certifications, Passive House and the like. Farr and Associates.
Love it, love it. How about we go to New York to Michael Ingui, Baxt Ingui Architects?
Totally. And we've always surprised Michael and the many factions that he works in, whether it's the 2 or 3 dozen architects in Manhattan, or the folks at Accelerator, at the folks at Source 2050. He wears many hats. First and foremost, they're beautiful projects. So Michael does not bore you with the science that sometimes people aren't interested in the beginning, but he speaks to the beauty and the comfort and the quietness, the attributes, as he calls it, of passive house construction. And we celebrated his 1 year anniversary of the accelerator by surprising him with guests. And Dave hung out with him at the New York passive house that occurred during COVID, during that interesting time.
It was very, very interesting time. And here's the thing. Passive house isn't just for new construction. They spend a lot of time. They're in Brooklyn, right? And that's Bronx, Brooklyn, that whole New York metro area. So they do a lot of retrofits. They go in and they will retrofit brownstones, entire buildings, or build new or design new. And I think that's what's amazing about them.
Yeah, the buildings often are 16 feet wide.
Yeah.
Townhomes, row homes, if you will. And so they transform them to be airtight, right? They transform them to be beautiful. And yeah, existing buildings is their forte. Their offices is right, looking over everything that happened in the towers area there. I've been to the offices. It's an emotional experience for sure.
Mottram Architecture, Emily Mottram. Remember, how long ago was Emily on?
She was. It had to be the first year. Gosh, I would think it's the first year. And then she was on a secondary time when we did a cross pollinator event, and one other time for a BS and beer. So her independently as well as a group with Travis and the likes. She's up there in Maine producing wonderful models, tireless work, pretty good house writer as well, right? She launched a book. Great professional, good friend of ours.
Very good friend and doing amazing work.
Yes,
I mean, look at the products they have, right? I love it. I mean, it's beautiful architecture and it's sustainable. It's green. It's healthy. It's all the things that we love, right?
Her photographs, as you see them unfold, Dave's got a lot of them here. They incorporate nature, and she's systematically showing you the times of Maine that it's not full of snow. Right, that's a very light snow day, but that gives you a sense of who she is, right? The incorporating the outdoors with the indoors with the outdoors, and how it's all together. It's all one. Beautiful work, Emily.
Absolutely. All right, Mark. So resources. We cover a lot of resources. So much resources that I feel like I need a voice to just take it up a notch.
We have resources, and plenty of resources on the BS Friday show. Check it out.
We will start off with Passive House Canada. Chris Ballard, what do you think?
Passive House Canada, he's the former minister of climate change, right? And smooth speaker for a reason, right?
Very much so.
He also has shared stories of his own work from offsite construction and existing homes. Passion is a good word to describe Chris. He's a true leader. He just had another large conference in Hamilton, Ontario, and they produce a lot of trainings, a lot of education. Wonderful guest and good friend of the show. If you're out there, go visit Chris and also support what they do. Check out their website. They're there for third-party programming and advancements of existing buildings like you wouldn't believe.
No stranger to this show. Next up, Katrin Klinenberg.
So a lot of milestones with Katrin. She's launched a lot of their special series and trade shows with us, and we've enjoyed it. In fact, somehow she arranged for Jennifer to host one of the shows, right? And it all works out. Katrin is a leader, co-founder of FIAS Passive House Institute US, and they're coming to Houston in October, November for their annual conference.
So what does that mean? That means we got to go to Texas.
Somewhere in Texas, but you got to go to San Antonio first.
Somewhere in San Antonio. I do love San Antonio. That's where I got
Beautiful
my first.
place.
That's where I got my first tattoo, was San Antonio, Mark, on the Riverwalk.
Were you 13?
Close. I was 18, man. I was stationed. I was going through my combat medic training at Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio. And I can tell you the one thing that I don't like about Texas. Want to know what it is?
I don't know.
Red ants. They hurt. Let me give you the scenario real quick. It's dark 30. The sun's not up. They take all the troops to a big field. Time for PT, physical training. And they say, drop and start doing push-ups and sit-ups. And you don't see that anthill laying there in the big field, and there's red ants everywhere. I don't like red ants. Completely against them.
I was wearing a pair of huaraches, which are handmade sandals down in Mexico, and we were working the cornfields. And at break, you sit down and you rest your limbs, and I put my feet out, and if you disturb a rock, underneath them is often where you find what Dave was talking about. And sure enough, like in a second, there's 400 of them on my feet, and it doesn't matter if you get them off. Like for days, you feel like your feet are pants on fire, right?
Pants on fire, and that's the truth. That's the truth. All right, we got a couple more things to get through here, so let's keep rocking and rolling. You're going to know the next guest, Boundary Barry, Passive House Accelerated. How is Bronwyn these days? Excellent.
So technically, right down below, if you pick that right there, the logo, Dave, the Passive House Network.
Yep.
Passive House Network is what she founded. And she's also an architect out of California, the Bay Area. So she's taken a back seat from the Passive House Network, and Ken Levinson and his team is doing the Passive House Network. Bronwyn has spoken in this country and other countries. Great leader. In the Passive House movement, and currently taking wonderful architecture projects for any of our friends in California. Definitely look her up.
Yeah, definitely look her up. All right, so other resources, Mark, that we have had on the show, and I'm going to try and pull some of these up. I have one of them already ready to go. Probably the biggest name in our industry when it comes to resources and doing amazing things to help people build it better. His name is Matt Reisinger. You know that guy?
Yeah.
You ever hear of him?
So you went and visited him down in Texas.
We did. Yes.
And I remember several weeks after your visit, Matt was shopping at a supply store, right? And he was wearing one of the very first to get one of your Dave Cooper Live hats, and that was really cool to see you guys. In fact, I have a photo of the two of you guys on my Facebook machine page, the Facebook account. Absolutely, Matt's everywhere.
Matt is everywhere. And I tell you, Mark, what I really like about, Matt is just out of the blue. I mean, the guy's busy. He has millions of followers. He has a whole crew of people always working with him. And he has all kinds of partnerships with other builders like, Joe Cook and Travis from Catalyst Builders, and Stephen Basic and Jake Bruton. I mean, there's so many of them for us to go through. But if you actually went to Matt Reisinger, I guess, we could probably show the build show, right? That would show a lot of those other folks as well. If I get it right here.
In fact, the show that we did with Johnny Rizvani and Aaron McCormick, and back when Sean was with 475, remember, I surprised you, and Matt let me film BS Friday from the studios there. And I don't even think they had officially opened their studio yet, which was really nice of them to welcome us in there for that.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I did have a chance to sit and talk with Matt at his house that he was building, which was a lot of fun. Matt's been on the show a couple times now. Matt's done some special introductions for us a few times, so that's all been cool. But I do want to put on here real quick. You know, these are all really great people. When I look at and I see Jake Bruton down here on the left-hand side, you know, here's Catalyst Builders here, Joe and Travis, which is great. Brian Uhler and his brother. I mean, they're awesome. There's so much content on this channel that if you're not familiar with, you know, Reisinger Builds or the Build Show Network, this is a great place and a great resource if you want to learn about building products.
Always, always. Our industry comes together and showcases everything that goes on. It's neat. I didn't remember that you got to tour Matt's house. I got to be there a couple times during Rough too, and that's the joy of our industry is when you get to visit these projects or factories, right? Because that's where we come from. It's the dust, the dirt, the grime, and the figuring out of all these components. It's fun.
Yeah. It is. It is a lot of fun. So, all right. So some of the things, one other thing that I think is really important to put out here are two people, I would say, and it's going to take me a second to load them up, but our good friend from Mechanical Hub.
Oh, Eric was on. Man, he's smooth. He's a one-man army. We all got dinner together. Remember in IBS, Eric's a one-man army.
Yeah.
You would think it's a whole crew. He's got really popular podcasts. What was he on? Like maybe halfway through our second year, Dave? Is that about right?
Yeah, he was halfway on through our second year. And then also at the International Builder Show, I ran into him in the halls while I was doing my live show. And he joined me for a little bit of a walk on the live show. But I mean, if you want to learn about plumbing and you want to hear it straight, or, you know, HVAC or any of that stuff, man, he is the guy to talk to. You know, you can see on there Plumbing Perspectives, Hydronics Hub, right? For those of you who don't know hydronics, that's water.
Right. Yeah.
Just to clarify. But yeah, what an awesome person and an awesome show that he gave us. And I take that when I say gave it to us, like it was a treat to have him on.
Yeah, he was a treat. I mean, he's got such a strong personality, a welcoming personality, and you know, it's like building science. It's sometimes a little monotonous, the work that we do, but he showcases it with such a clean camera angle and the robustness of this is why, this is how, this is what I use. And then, you know, the guy's funny too. He adds humor to it. He's one of the guys you just gravitate towards.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. We got, I think 2 more, maybe 3 more here. Let's put them up real quick. Hey, Rob Howard. Now they're
had him on early on. Many people know Rob through his past over the years. I mean, he's been with this company and many other companies, but he's really taken on his own development. And we had him on talking about that. But if you want to know someone who's connected, if you want to know someone that for years talked the talk, and also when he walks the walks, he shares what he does. Great guy. We've been dying to get him back on the show, and we will. He's busy like the rest of us. Good fella, and I love his logo. I love that he ushered. I don't believe that logo existed back when he was on the show, but he was working it all out.
Yeah, he definitely was.
He's also a teacher, right? He went on from industry besides working with the materials and products to build the buildings and to teach. He teaches in his community.
Yeah, he does. Well, this is the people that are on the show. Listen, I say this to everybody. There's being a builder, there's being a contractor, whether it's HVAC, electrical, plumbing, you know, across the board, whether you're a carpenter or mason. If you're willing to build and then publicly put what you're building out there for people to beat you up and critique you if they don't agree, it happens, right? I get it on my shows all the time. People are, you know, and that means they're trying to do it right and they're doing it better. And most of these guys are the experts that are confident enough to put it up there and talk about it and get critiques so they can educate. And that's the difference. You gotta have rhinoceros skin in this industry.
Yeah, and you got to have a little fun doing it. You know, our buddy Bob Kelly, Wickwright, right? We had him
That's
on
right. Yeah.
like back-to-back shows one time because he just had so much to say.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, we're gonna do 2 more trades, and then we're gonna move on to building products and services, and just hit a couple things there, and we should be wrapped up.
That,
Bird Construction, right? Josh Salinger. That's
yep.
been a long time, right? So Josh Birdsmouth, another person, does a lot of passive house builds. And is he in Washington or is he in
I believe he's in Oregon, and
Oregon? Thank you.
wasn't he with you in your trip to Switzerland?
He was with us on our trip to Switzerland. Him and Ben Bogey and Matt Reisinger, we all, a bunch of us all went together. Super amazing company, an amazing person doing great things, and also really big into the education, which is a big deal.
Yeah, I know some folks at his company as well, and we hung out, of course, at the PassFoss conference. Right. We had lunch together at IBS, and he's been walking around with the camera at these shows now too, Dave.
He has been walking around the camera at the show. It's good. The more people that do this, the more people that'll learn how to build it better. I don't know, like if we have enough people out there showcasing what we do to the point where it floods it, right? That's what we need. We're only a small percentage of the entire construction market, whether it's passive house, net zero, LEED, energy efficiency. It's a tiny, tiny portion, and building systems is a tiny, tiny portion. So there's only one way to go, and that is up.
Yeah, I think we were all featured on his highlight reel of IBS, right? He had us recorded out there, and I think when he recorded me, the camera broke. So my apologies. Dave will buy you a new one.
Yeah, or two. Cool.
You heard it here, folks.
Well, you definitely hear it here. Hey, we want to give a shout out to, somebody that's on this show a lot. Sean St. Amour, Larry Clay. Give me Larry's, what's the company for the Sean?
Clay Construction, Vancouver, British Columbia, the Clay Way.
Vancouver. Let me just pull it up. Clay, well, all of us, we went out for drinks at the International Builders Show this past year, and I got to meet Clay along with, Sean for the first time, and we all got to hang out. And I have to tell you, outside of just the knowledge that Sean and Clay bring, they're just really good people.
Amazing people. Sean's probably been on our show, I would guess,
more than anybody.
More than everyone except for Dave and myself. And Larry also, just ended his term as president of the Canadian Home Builders Association.
Right.
And, obviously he's a remarkable storyteller. And there on the screen is also his sons and Daniel. He goes under Daniel Built. He's got 2 of his sons working for him. And Larry is always at events, always education. He's another person. Passion describes what he does. And, Sean's done so many live feeds from us of visiting jobs and showcasing it. Good friend of the show and good friend of both of ours.
All right. So the fastest 150-page presentation that we ever had on the show, Mark. Do you remember who it is?
I was it Ian William Robertson or was it Lloyd Alter?
Bingo. Lloyd Alter, you got it, man. Yeah. Good memory, Lloyd Alter. What an amazing individual. Tree hugger, sustainability for all. He does write a lot of things, and he likes to poke the bear. He loves to stick his finger in the bee's nest to get the honey and get everybody riled up. But what he loves the most is creating great conversation.
Yeah, he's the one that told us, ordering the chicken dinner can be sustainable, but not if you have it delivered, right?
That's
He
right.
said you had to ride your bike there, and he's written several books, and he announced on the show he's writing more. And little special thing that we can't miss out on is I don't know if Dave knew about this or not. It's hard to keep good ideas from Dave, but Jennifer and Lloyd got together and surprised us on our annual Christmas show,
Yeah.
and I uh, I had to hold back the tears. It was so well done, like brilliant, brilliant. Lloyd is a special person. Um, he's doing things separate from Tree Hugger today, but there's thousands of articles that he did with
Yes.
Tree Hugger. Special man, very important person for our industry as a leader.
Yeah, very important. Lloyd's entire life and entire goal in life has been, to me, seems to be to alter the current state of how we build.
I
Right?
caught that. Well said.
Yeah, love it, love it. All right, so some other things. I think we just need a couple quick shout outs here. We're running way over time. Building products and services. I mean, we've had ERVs, HRVs, blower door test folks on. Uber. Huber Woods. We had some of the big players on. DeCagny, right? Let's talk about his system.
Alexandre or
Alexandra.
Alex or Alexander Degagné of Minutair. That was early on in COVID, and what he did is he set up his entire trade show booth because he wasn't able to go to trade shows. He set it up,
He did.
and we did that virtually. It was so fun. He's a very good communicator, and obviously, what Minutair does is it's ventilation. It's heating, cooling, dehumidification, ERV, all in one. And
Yep.
so that unit is kind of like a small magic box, and it talks to other machines in case you need a little bit more delivery based on your manual J calculations. But fresh air with dehumidification, so important because in building science, we're talking about tight buildings. And so you have to have a fresh air machine. You have to have this, folks. We always talk about building it tight, but we also mention, we need to ventilate it. And there it is, the beautiful Minutair.
Yep. There's the Minutair. Hey, guess what, Mark? Do you need an outdoor condenser with this machine?
So there's not an outdoor system. However, if you have an outdoor system, let's say that's working with your water, this there's a special plate that you can have put in it that they talk to one another.
Right.
Like Andrew of G-Pod has a combination of Minutair, Sandin, and Mitsubishi. All three of those machines work together to deliver everything based on the volume and uses of the appliances. So right, like a nice 600 to 900 square foot space will really benefit from the attributes and system of Minutair.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Simple controls, by the way. So simple. So simple.
Very
and it's
simple.
ready to go. It's plug and play.
Yeah, yeah, and personalized service as well. Alexandra is one of my favorite people. Every time I see him at a trade show, or this last year was at IWBCC when they were with Greenbuild. What an amazing he almost tackled me. It was so much fun.
Well, that's right. Yeah, the Greenbuild got a whole slew of rebirth this year, which is great because of the combined shows. That was a big part of the success, Dave. I'm glad you highlight that. And I think, what is it in Washington, D.C. now this year?
It is Washington, D.C. this year. The Building Systems Council, the summit is in Washington, D.C. this year. The Housing Innovation on the Washington Mall is everything's in Washington, D.C. this year. I guess everybody wants the politicians to get their heads out of their back end and pay attention to what we're doing.
Leadership takes leadership, and there's 55
Yeah.
people coming to the mall. Not 55 people,
55
55
showcase.
companies coming to
Yep.
the mall. So watch for that. Someone we know is going to have a camera there.
That's right. That is right. So, Mark, do you know what the best part of BS has been with us?
The audience.
Yeah. If we could pick one thing, it would be the community.
Yeah.
It's the people who tune in and support what we do every Friday for 3 years. 3 years.
It's now 3
We're
years
tired. 3 years.
and 2 shows, right? So this
Yeah.
is 159.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. 159. Some of the shows we got to figure out. I don't know where they fall or come out of or come in out of the playlist, but things get a little confusing with this, 1,000 shows, man. It's a lot on there. So,
And some shows, I think the most we had on was I think somehow we managed to have 9 people on one show. That we always said we weren't going to have more than 4 or 5 or 6, and
yeah.
then of course we get a little excited, and then this person invites that person. Sometimes because we surprise people, people surprise us, and like Dave surprises us by changing camera angles. Let's hear a vote out there. How many people think he needs to shine a little light on that Dave Cooper Live sticker on the back of his monitor? I'm there. It is. That's
There
it.
it is. Yeah.
That's
Hey, if you
it.
want a sticker, just let me know. We'll send out some stickers. What the heck?
The audience has been great. The community, both when we're at shows, when we surprise people, when we're at shows,
Yeah.
when we surprise each other, where we're at, because we might not have time to cross connect calendars. But that's because we're always working to be prepared for the next.
100%. 100%. All right. So listen, Mark, I think we have one more plug that we should do. How about we plug? Let me pull it up and I'll surprise you because I think you'll be happy to plug this. Our good friends from the Northeast Building Symposium coming up.
Coming right up. So Joe Cook, Travis Brunkard, and a host of speakers. I believe it's Coda, John, Jake,
right.
Ben, Steve, Cheryl Lewis, orchestrating a whole bunch of manufacturer sponsors from Huber and local lumber yards. Ross, I believe the IAQ expert is going to be there as well. So that's in Connecticut. And these have been great conferences. I've enjoyed them. They feed you, right? So you can sit around the table.
Food is good. Food is good. And beer. And beer. All right. So listen, Mark, we have covered a lot of ground today. Looking forward. I'll be at the Northeast Building Science Symposium this year, which is going to be really cool. Thanks to, I always have to give her plugs. I don't think she gets enough credit. It's Cheryl Seco. She is Cheryl Lewis Associates. I got Cheryl Seco mold on my brain. But Cheryl Lewis helps so many of us out there connect and bring these together. So big shout out to her, man. I have to tell you, super connector. Why don't we just take a quick hello down the list of comments and everything in there, Mark, and then we'll go from there. So
we're at 58 minutes and 32 seconds. Continue to share the craft. Heart, crown, high heels. Amy Marks.
Love it. Love it. Prefab Rocks, Be Public, Halsterum Sim, Blueprint Robotics. Rob, it's funny. You're on my list. I got to call you. We've been trying to get together. Well, he's been trying. I've been slacking. But I have some downtime. So let's connect. Love to meet up.
Rob's one of my favorite people and everyone's favorite professional. Always learning from Rob. Great architect, great building science pro. Greg Ubaldi, of course, says, Jennifer, Dave, Mark, an excellent DC Live today. What great memories and a ton of valuable information over the years. Much respect to you and your team at the NHB, Mr. Greg Ubaldi.
All right. Awesome. Always glad to have Greg on. We talk about it's kind of like you and I coming together, Mark, for building systems and building science. If we didn't start building systems and building science and some of these things, getting to personally know people like Greg Ugaldi, Peter Molinar, others that are on the show, right? That play at a very high level, you know, especially Greg in Washington, D.C. You start to learn that people are people. We live in different worlds, but it doesn't mean we have different values all the time. But we do play in different realms of how the world moves, you know. And that's why there's, you know, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, atheists, whatever. But once you get to know people, you know, even like with the NAHB, like there's some really good people in it. And Greg is one of them. In fact, pretty much everybody I've ever met at the NHB is good people. But you know, they've been around a long time, and they're steering a ship and really looking at building science and looking at building systems now in a big way. And they tune into our show because this is a great place for them to learn about it. And that's been awesome to have Greg and a lot of the team at the NAHB join us. So love it.
The sacrifice people do to eat their lunch, to have their salad, to drink some soup during the show or have a smoothie is great. And we also appreciate all the folks we don't get to see. So when you watch these, when we're not live, we don't get to see that you watch them. And we do miss that interaction, but we're very thankful that you take the time to like and share because we're producing this for you to extend this to your community. That's why it stays.
For you.
We're showing you on the YouTube. That's why it stays for you to share.
For you. It's out there. It lives there. Yep, it lives there. All right, listen, everyone. That is a wrap for today's BS Friday. It is a Memorial Day weekend, so please go out, hug your family, play with your kids, have a great weekend because these weekends really aren't free. A lot of people gave up a lot so we could have this type of lifestyle and what we get to do, good, bad, or indifferent. So go out there and have a great weekend and honor those who have given all. That's what it's all about. Right?
Wonderful show. Thanks for all you do, Dave. And in case people don't see it, if you zero in, he's wearing that shirt for the reason. U.S. Army Combat Medic. Happy Memorial Day to y'all.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you for watching. Enjoy that, family. Happy Memorial Day to you. And again, honor those who gave all. I'm Dave Cooper, and that is Mark Bare Naked Willie. We'll see you next time. Bye now.